Good morning, family. It's your boy Hectendo back again with another video, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a review and is it worth buying in 2023 the PlayStation 3 system. As before, you guys already know how I do my review videos. I do with a protocol of design, the display, performance, battery, camera, purpose of using it, price and current value, in my opinion, on the console. Now, because this isn't run on batteries, or there isn't really a display, anything like that, we're gonna skip those two selections. And let's just get to it. Again, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, as it means a lot to me and this channel. And hit the like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think about this video. Other than that, guys, let's begin this video. Alright, so let's talk about the design of the console. This isn't the first PlayStation 3 console that Sony ever dropped. This is the revision. This is the PS3 Slim. Back then, when Sony dropped the original PS3, it was pretty expensive. It was a very expensive launch.
Retail on November 17th, 2006. The 20 gigabyte PlayStation 3 will retail for $499 US and 549 Canadian dollars. And the 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 for $599 US, $659 Canadian.
Just for a 20 gig model was upwards of $499, and a 60 gig model was up to $699. It was way too expensive during the time. And most people really just bought the 20 gig model because it's cheaper. Now, the main reason why it was so expensive is because of that Blu-ray drive on the front. So what Sony did, and also, it was also PS2 compatible. So that's why the costs were so high. Now, Sony cut that. They cut off the PS2 support for the PS3 Slim, made it into a really smaller size console, and decreased the price to $299. So here it is, the PS3 Slim. So right here on the top, we have our black. I would say it is like a matte black. There is texture to it. When you move your hands, you can feel it. You have your PS3 logo right here. This is how Sony usually nowadays, PS4, PS5, it uses the same font. The original PS3 had the words PlayStation in Spider-Man font going across. With the Slim is for PS3 and this newer PlayStation font. So in the front of the console, right here, so it's heavy, but I'll say this is a little bit more heavy than the PS4. So other than that, so here we go. In the front, we have Sony right here. They always got to put the brand in. It's a glossy black. It does attract fingerprints, dust, and it does get scratched. You can see it there. You do see a little bit of scratches on there. So got Sony right there. Other side here, we have our PlayStation logo right there in the middle. And above that, we have our power button right here. This is called the control deck, the control board right here. The original PS3, it was touch with a Slim. I'm guessing to cut costs, they removed the touch and just made physical buttons. So you have our power button right here. When it is on, you do get a red LED, symbolizing that it's off. When it's on, you get a green, and the famous yellow light of death. When there's an error with the console, it turns yellow there. And right here we have our eject button. When you want to eject the disc from the Blu-ray drive. When you have a disc insert, it does light up blue like the PS2 did. And they're very clicky, if you guys can hear. Very clicky. If you guys can hear it. So that's it from the front. On the sides, again, you have your glossy shiny back. It does get scratches, fingerprints. Let's see it there. Same thing on this side as well. It's a little bit scratched up. Especially right here, it's really scratched up right there. You can hold it up like this on the side, like what the PS5 is doing nowadays, but because there's no rubber grips or anything like that, you will scratch your console. As you can see here, it's pretty much a lot of scratches there. Going to the back of the console, we have our events right here. We have our serial number, and at the end of that serial number, we have the model of the console. Very important to know your model number of the console, so you know if you can mod it or not. We have our Ethernet port right there. We have our HDMI, our digital out optical. Very, you know, they removed this from the PS4 Slim and PS5. You no longer see this anymore. Going down the line, you will no longer see this anymore, as I guess it's not really needed anymore. We have our AV multi-out. If you have a PS2, you can just reuse those PS2 component cables to the PS3. And you have your power supply right here. Going in the back, or the bottom side of the console, you have your warranty void sticker right here, which I replaced with tape. I really don't care if the warranty is void because this console is discontinued by Sony, so it's really no need. You have your rubber grips right here. You needed to take these off to get to the PS3. Right here is, oops, forgot to show you guys that in the front. I'll show you guys that in a few. You have your PS3 here again, and then you have just your write-ins and the model number right here that says SESH 2001-8. Okay, so this door right here, this is the door to open the hard drive. So if you want to upgrade your hard drive, which I did to SSD, you open this up, have your blue screw, you want to unscrew that, and then you want to slide off the hard drive bay right there in the front. Alright guys, so other than that, that's the design of the console. It's pretty good design. I like how they still kept the front of the original PS3, the little bridge right here. So other than that guys, that's it for this segment, and let's move on. Alright guys, performance. The PS3 was a very complicated piece of tech to develop on back then when it first dropped. Many game developers were having a very hard time to develop for the console due to its CPU and GPU. So the Sony PlayStation 3 is using the Cell broadband engine, that's the CPU, which is clocked at a 3.2 gigahertz. It is a PowerPC based processor unit, and well, it reaches a maximum threshold of 179.2 gigaflops. It has I believe 512 megabytes of RAM, DDR3, which is pretty small. It is a shared RAM, so which means 256 is for the operating system and another 256 is for games. So yeah, gaming on the 512 megabytes of RAM, that's pretty low. But back then, that's how much these things really needed. They didn't really need gigs to 4 gigs of what we get nowadays. The GPU uses a RSX. This is called the RSX Reality Synthesizer chip. Made by Sony. It is really based on a NVIDIA G70. And it has the GPU mouthful is clocked at a 500 megahertz. And again, it has its dedicated 256 DDR3, GDDR3 RAM. And that RAM is actually clocked at 650 megahertz. And that one it really runs at a 192 gigaflops per second. So the Cell broadband, the reality synthesizer chip, if you guys don't know already, back then with game consoles, they had this separate CPU and GPU, where nowadays with the PS4, PS5, there's only one chip, and that's called an APU. But back then, Sony, they had to use a CPU and a GPU, and it was really clocked. It was the CPU and GPU was really clocked higher than the Xbox 360 during the time, but it was very difficult to program and to develop for. So that's why most games, when it first came out for the PS3, it wasn't really looking the greatest because of that. Developers was having a hard time developing for the console. Of course, only Sony first-party games, Sony exclusives look this good. If you ever played Last of Us, it looks pretty amazing on this console. Some games will have some third-party games will have frame rate issues, where the Xbox 360 version of the game will have less frame rate issues or no frame rate issues at all. Like, for example, Sonic Unleashed, the game does dip. It does play at a 30 FPS, but it's not stable. It always drops down, like during certain parts of the game, especially the daytime levels. When you run in, boosting, it does lag a bit. While in the Xbox 360 version, it gets less dips. So that's all because of the reality synthesizer and the cell broadband CPU. These two chips does run hot. Especially on the original PS3 model, that does run very hot, and that's what really caused the yellow light of death. The fan wasn't really that great. It was really loud in the original model. The Slim, they improved on the fan and thermals. They made the chip on this really small. I've actually opened this up. When I bought this, I actually opened it up myself and replaced the thermals and clean the dust and everything off this console. I will put a picture on the screen to show you guys the process, but I have to read the process. But just me having the motherboard out, applying that new thermal paste and putting it back up together. It wasn't really that hard to open up. It is time consuming, as I was taking my time because I really didn't want to mess it up or anything like that. So if you do get a PS3, I recommend getting the Slim, as it is a sweet spot in reliability and being jailbroken. But whenever you do buy one, you want to make sure, and you want to open it up, clean it off, and you want to make sure and replace that thermal paste, because this came in 2009, right? We're in 2023 now. You want to make sure that everything is working for it to last a long time. Also, one thing, the hard drive. The hard drive what came with this is 120 gigs. That's really small. I upgraded this to a 500 gig SSD. Now, the PS3 uses a SATA 2 interface. You guys already know most SSDs use SATA 3, and it's not really recommended to put a SSD in the PS3 because you're not going to get really the full speeds of a SSD, because this PS3 only reads it on a SATA 2 level. You will see a difference in load times, but not really that much, because it's still going to read that SSD as a SATA 2 interface. Now, one of the main reasons why you want to get an SSD for the PS3 is because it lasts longer than the traditional hard drive. Again, this came in 2009. You always want to switch to that hard drive because after 2009, come on, we're in 2023. That hard drive obviously has to be going bad pretty time soon. It is, you guys already know, hard drives are mechanical. It does wear and tear. While SSDs, since there's no physical moving parts in it, it's just flash based, it does last longer. And for me to prolong the life of this PS3, I opt for the SSD. I got a nice 500 gig, that's a sweet spot. With the amount of games I have on it right now, I have 77 gigs remaining on it, so I think a 500 gig SSD should do for you. So just go for that, guys, man. You can, if you're on a budget, you don't want to spend much money on an SSD, you can swap it with a traditional hard drive. Just make sure it is a 2.5 inch model, and make sure that it's higher than 504 RPM. I don't know why Sony like using that, but that is really slow. At least 7200. But for me, I opt for a SSD as it can last a little bit longer. All right, guys. So that's it for the performance segment, and let's move on to the next. All right. So before we get into the console itself, let's talk about the controller. This is the DualShock 3 controller right here. It's pretty much the same as a Sony DualShock 1 and 2 controller. The differences is it's just wireless, and they added a PS button, home button right there. I'm not really a fan of the DualShock 3 controller as it is pretty small. I don't really remember it being this tiny. Comparing it to a PS4 DualShock 4 controller or the PS5 DualSense controller, you can see it's much bigger. This, if you're playing PS5 or PS4 and you just go back to the DualShock 3 controller, you will just feel the difference in size. It is really small to hold in the hands. The DualShock 3, it has its perks. Well, first off, when this controller first dropped, it was actually called the 6-axis controller. And what that really is Sony just to make the controller feel a little bit different than the PS2s. They added motion capability into it. So the 6-axis, as its name implies, the controller can detect degrees of 6-axis. So you can, some games utilize it. So some games you can rotate the controller. It's pretty much like the Wii. Whether we have motion controls, the 6-axis has that. Now, the downfall with the 6-axis controller is they had to sacrifice something, because battery life for the controller, it wasn't really that great. So they had to sacrifice something, and that is rumble. You guys already know the DualShock, for its name, it's good for the rumbling. So games that features rumbling, if you have the 6-axis controller, you didn't have rumble feature to it. Sony did release a traditional DualShock 3 controller, but that one did feature rumbling, but that one didn't have 6-axis. So you have to buy either two controllers. So you can either buy the 6-axis controller or a DualShock 3 controller. Now, after some time, I guess Sony, the users they heard the users complain about why I have to buy this controller, this, that, and decided to put a bigger battery in the PS3 controller, and decided to combine both 6-axis and DualShock 3. So with this controller, you do get that 6-axis feature, motion control feature, and the rumbling. So going over the face of the controller, your traditional PlayStation controller, you got your D-pad, you got your analog sticks, you start and select your PS home button, you got your cross, circle, square, and triangle buttons, your R1, L1, R2. What they did with the R1 and R2s, they made it to trigger like buttons now, where on the PS2 and PS1 they were just regular buttons, but now the PS3, they made it into triggers. I'm not really a fan of the DualShock 3 triggers because it is slippery. It's not really that much grip to the triggers, and your hands can slip on it. Compared to a PS4 where they improved on it, and the new DualSense controller, the triggers with adaptive triggers, so there's enough grip and it feels great in the hands. You can see right here, my hands, it just feels great holding the DualSense controller. Now going back to a PS3 controller right here, it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty small. It just feels weird holding it again. Let me get the DualShock 4 controller. So here's the DualShock 4 controller for the PlayStation 4. You can see they made it a little bit much bigger. Triggers are much more better. The triggers are way better compared to PS3's. There's more grip, feels better. The controller feels great in the palm of the hands. I think that the PS4 controller is probably one of the best controllers they made. Well, until the DualSense came in, the DualSense is probably the best with that adaptive feedback, haptic feedback, adaptive triggers. It's nice and big and nice to hold in the hand. It feels premium. Back to the DualShock 3, it feels small and it doesn't feel too premium. Like it doesn't feel all that great in the hands. Now I do know these controllers, you can also do this with the analog sticks, and then it makes it really stiff. Like, look at that. I don't think you can do that with the DualShock 4. No, you can't do it. It doesn't do it. And obviously you can't with the DualSense. No. So I guess that's just like a PS1, PS2, PS3 thing. So other than that, guys, the controller is great, but it's just small. Like, you know, after you've been using a PS4 or a PS5 controller, and you go into a PS3, it's gonna feel different, and you'll feel the premiumness just goes away from the controller. So that's the control for you guys. Let's move on to the next segment. All right, guys. So I forgot to show you guys the control board right here. When it's plugged in, you got that red LED right there. You can see right there, you have that red LED light. When you turn it on, it does turn green. And right here, you have your eject button. They are both physical buttons, so the touch compared to the original PlayStation 3. The control board, it is Fingerprint City, Dust City. It's a little bit dusty right now, but it's all right. What I noticed about the PS3 is the beeping noise on the PS3 is louder compared to both the PS4 and PS5. And I think it's because the way they place the motherboard speaker. When I open this thing up, the motherboard speaker is actually in the middle. It's like right here, actually, to be exact. So I think that's the reason why it's much louder compared to the PS4 and PS5. The PS4 and PS5, they probably have theirs a little bit all the way to the back of the console, but the speaker here, they put it in the front. So that's why it's a little bit louder. So if you do have a PS4 or PS5, test that beep, and it is lower than what the PS3 gets. So, you know, when you press the power button, you get that green, and also the control board lights right here, these LEDs, these do light up as well. So boom. All right, so, and when you do put this inside the console, you get a blue LED. So just for shits and giggles, we're gonna put in a PS5 game, Sackboy Big Adventure. Pretty decent game. I kind of do like platform and stuff like this, and you know, it's a pretty good game. It is Blu-ray. This is Ultra Blu-ray HD, so will it recognize it? Probably not. It is a PS5 game, so it probably won't recognize it as a PS5. But in there, see it's blinking blue. All right. Then on the screen here, we have it's reading right there. So will it read? It is working in there. It's vibrating. It's probably not gonna recognize because it is a Ultra HD Blu-ray disc. Uh-oh. So it's trying to read it again. So I'm just gonna take it out now because it's not really no point. It's not gonna read it. And that's how the lights are on the front of it. Like, to have the PS2, same thing. Got the green and blue LEDs. Really nice combo, in my opinion. All right, so let's get. All right, guys. So we are inside the PS3. So in this segment, I'm going to be telling you guys the purpose of using it. So the purpose of using the PS3 is, again, it's a gaming system. Sure, it is old. It came in 09. Well, the Slim came in 09. But the PS3 had some great games, some great first-party games like God of War, Gran Turismo 6, Infamous series, the Jak and Daxter series, Little Big Planet, My Nation Racers, PlayStation All-Stars, the whole Ratchet & Clank trilogy, Sly Cooper, and also Sly Cooper HD Collection Pack. I don't have it on the PS3 because I have it for the Vita already, so boom. Yeah, it's Uncharted. Can't forget about Uncharted. Now, if you have a PS3 games laying around, sure, you can play them there and there, but let's say you don't have PS3 games. So that's where this really comes in. So if you're buying a PS3 in 2023, you have to at least jailbreak it. It's a must-have. I'm not gonna show you guys how to jailbreak it. There are plenty of videos on how to jailbreak it, but like I said, you want to make sure and buy a PS3 Slim, as it is reliable and it's probably in the sweet spot of jailbreaking. So with the PS3 Slim, you want to make sure that your model number, whatever model number that the jailbreak supports, you have to make sure your PS3 Slim is with that model number. So this is for PS3 Super Slims. You can jailbreak it, but it uses PS3 Hen, and some PS3 Slim models you can use PS3 Hen. PS3 Hen is basically just a wet in the foot into homebrew and stuff like that on the PS3. I wouldn't really use PS3 Hen, as every time you turn your PS3, you have to launch PS3 Hen to enable the jailbreak again. And also, it does have a little of its bugs there and there where the system, some applications don't work properly with PS3 Hen. It crashes and things like that. So I just recommend just getting a CFW compatible PS3 Slim and jailbreak it. So when you jailbreak a PS3, you unlock your package manager, and if you go into custom firmware tools right here, you can file manager, you check basic tools, you can change the fan speed. So see right now my fan speed is on 20%. I usually leave it as dynamic. So in the Cobra tools, I leave it as dynamic fan control. I couldn't control the fan speeds up to 195%. I usually leave these on dynamic because the fan on the PS3 is basically like a check light engine. If the fans are revving up and it's loud, that means you have to check your PS3. It's either too much dust, and it's getting too hot. So and also if you do control the fan speed, when you do controls, anything past 50%, it sounds like a helicopter taking off in your room. So yes, I usually leave it on dynamic fan control. So when it gets to 140 Fahrenheit, the fans do start to kick in. Also we have Webman, game Webman. It's pretty much also a great utility on the PS3 when you jailbreak it. So just check the temperature right now. So you see it's on 53 Celsius CPU, and the RSX synthesizer is on 59 Celsius. You can see I'm not playing games right now, and the RX is really hot right now. It's not that hot, but still. You have PSN blocking. So let's say I want to sign into PlayStation Network. Got that because it's not really. It's you're doing it at your risk. When you jailbreak, you don't want to go online because you can get your console banned and your account banned. So you can see here, I usually always have my connection disabled. When I do need to enable it, I always just come to settings and enable it. So show you guys system settings real quick here. Trying to show you guys that I did have a 500 gig SSD, and you see that I'm on system software version 4.89 EvilNet right there. Okay, that's the name of the jailbreak. So when you jailbreak your console, you can install Homebrew, you can install PKG files, which is, you know, just pirated games and stuff like that. Because, you know, buy PS3, you know, you're not really gonna spend money to buy games for it. You know, get these games for free. So I'm not gonna tell you guys where I got these games from. You guys gonna have to research on your own. But yeah, so you know, the PS3, you know, buying it now in 2023, you modded it, you can just get games for it, free games. You know, the PlayStation Store is online still on the PS3. Sony, earlier in the year, Sony did try to shut down the store, and they received a huge amount of backlash when they did that. So I guess they listened to the users, and Sony kept the store open. So I think right here it's not showing the picture, so I'm just going to deactivate and reactivate. Alright, so it's doing that thing again, so I'm just going to stretch it here. So they received a huge amount of backlash when that happened. And like they reactivated the PlayStation Store for the PS3 again, because many people were still using PS3s. You know, like what are you guys doing? Now the reason why they want to disable is because, you know, it's not secure, you know, because, you know, it's not being updated, you know. So Sony did a little something to it to enable it to be secure, and that's by removing the ability to add your credit cards or adding funds. In order for you to add or buy games or anything from the PS3 store, you're gonna have to go on your PS5, PS4, or online on the computer, and you're gonna have to add the funds there, and then it will be on your PS3 store account. You know, the reason why Sony doesn't want to, you know, do that on the PS3 itself is because it's not secure anymore, as it's not being updated and stuff like that. So you see here, I'm playing Far Cry 3. You know, didn't buy this game. I remember playing this game, really great game, story and everything is great. You know, I usually play this game on PC, but it seems that Windows 11 is having a hard time playing this game, as it's not running properly and stuff like that. So I just got it for PS3. And just playing the console version of this game, it's really different to me, because the graphic wise, I mean, it looks similar, kind of. But the frame rate, it's capped at 30 FPS, and it does lose frame rate there and there. You know, playing on the console, PC, you know, 60 FPS, things like that. And you can see what's this on the dashboard right there, the shadows, the shadow mappings, pixeling, stuff like that. You know, it's console gaming, so yeah. Yeah, so I mean, getting the PS3 now, you know, to mod it and stuff like that. Mod it, you play all your homebrew and kind of things. It's really worth it. Just picking up a PS3 and just modding it. Especially during the pandemic now, PS5s are still high on the resale. Still, I mean, I'm starting to see the PS3's value starting to go down. You know, resellers are lowering the prices. They're reselling the PS5 for just $100 more than what we was paying for 1K and stuff like that back then. Because Sony are making more PS5 consoles. But you know, if money's tight, and you can't get your hands on a PS5, PS4, you know, go for a PS3. There's still pretty much good games on the PS3, and you don't really have to buy the games. You know, you can just mod the console. You can mod the console, and you know, you have your free PS3 games right here. Like, I mean, just look at me. All these games, I didn't pay for them. You know, download these for free. You know, I'm not gonna tell you guys where I download it, because, you know, I don't want to get in trouble. But yeah, you know, so yeah, that's the real purpose of buying it. So You know, you have the funds. It's really cheap too. They're not that expensive. I got this one for about $120, and it was in really great condition. The casing. I mean, there was little scratches and stuff in there, and when I opened it up, it wasn't that dusty. So, you know, whoever had it before me really took good care of it. So, you know, go for it, guys. You know, it's really worth it. In my opinion, it's worth it. So, you know, definitely pick it up. Alright, so that's it for this segment, and let's move on to the price. Alright guys, so the price and current value. When the PS3 first came out, it was a whopping $499.
Retail on November 17th, 2006. The 20 gigabyte PlayStation 3 will retail for $499 US and 549 Canadian dollars. And the 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 for $599 US, $659 Canadian. PlayStation 3 will
launch price. It was a disaster. For a 20 gig variant, cost to almost up to a PS5 for today. For a 60 gig model with Wi-Fi and HDMI capabilities, was gonna run you up to $599. Now Sony. They fixed this pricing issue when they released the PS3 Slim. With the Slim, it dropped the price to $299, which was a decent price. Nowadays, PS3s doesn't really go for that much. You know, like I said, I got my PS3 Slim for $120, and it came in great condition. There was a little bit of dust and stuff in there, but it was great. The casing, it is scratched, but you know, after some wear and tears, it scratches. You know, just, you know, if you're really into PS3 Slim, like I said, go for the Slim. You know, it's great for CFW, you know, jailbreak and stuff like that. You know, just take a chance, look on eBay. You know, you find great price on PS3 Slims. You know, and in great condition too. You know, just look at the picture, talk with the seller. You know, just make sure when you're buying, you want to make sure that it is a CFW compatible Slim. Like I said, my current Slim model is 2001A, so you want to make sure that you get a similar one like mine's, or you get one that the CFW is compatible with. Because if you do get a Slim that is not CFW compatible, you're gonna have to use PS3 Hen to jailbreak your console, and PS3 Hen isn't really reliable and isn't that great compared to CFW with Cobra and EvoNet. So yeah, so that's pretty much it with the pricing, guys. You know, it's great buy value. You know, like again, yeah, your PS5s. That it's not too many PS5s being made. It's still pretty high. They are getting dropped down though, and Sony is actually giving people chances to own one. Even Amazon, because I got an invitation link that Amazon sent to me for Prime members only, where they gave you an invitation to buy the PS5 from Amazon. They give you 72 hours to buy it. After that, you're gone. I recently got mine. I was thinking of buying it again to resell, but when I saw the price, it's not really worth it. So, and then I was thinking of just using that new one and selling the one I currently have. But then I was like, nah, because you know, when a jailbreak releases for, you know, depending on the revision or the model number, you know, and me getting this newer model, you know, hurt the chances of me of jailbreaking in the future. So I decided to opt out, and my invitation was voided. So other than that, guys, PS3 again, great value to buy now, especially in 2023. You know, just go for it. Check on eBay, so you get some great deals on eBay. Other than that, guys, let's move on to the next segment, and let's end this video. Alright, so my opinion on the PS3 is it's pretty great. You know, definitely pick up one. You know, I never had a PS3 before in my lifetime. And just me getting a PS3 now, just to mod it, jailbreak and stuff like that. Free games. The price wasn't that much. I think it's great. In my opinion, PS3 is a great console. Sure, playing some games I played before on PC, playing on PS3 now, it does feel a bit different because of the graphic wise and also frame rate issues. As I'm coming from PC. Usually PC users, we play games at a 60 to 120 FPS, and just by me playing a PS3 game now, it just feels different because of the FPS that I'm getting actually. Getting 30 FPS. There are some games that I've always wanted to play that I couldn't because I didn't have a PS3 during the time. For example, Sonic Unleashed. Always wanted to play that game. I did play the Wii version of it, but the Wii version of it isn't the same as the Xbox. And the Xbox and PS3 versions, because those two games are superior than the Wii, because those games run on the Hedgehog engine, while the Wii version and the PS2 version was just not that great. So that's pretty much the great game that I always wanted to play on PlayStation, Sonic Unleashed, and because of buying a PS3 today, I can do that. Modded it, jailbreak it, got it free, I can do that. Yeah, there is Sonic Generations where you can install the Unleashed mod, but it isn't. You're just playing the day levels. I mean, I like the day levels, but you're not getting the same story and everything as the original Sonic Unleashed game. So, other than that, guys, I did it. Just pick up a PS3. Like I said, it's not that expensive. Go on eBay, look around. I wasn't really thinking of getting a PS3, but then I was just thinking like, I really want to play this game and stuff like that. And then I was like, I can definitely mod it, because it's been out for a while. 2009, the Slim came out. Definitely there's mods to it. Pick it up, mod it. Get some games to play. To keep me occupied during this pandemic. Gameplay has been increasing throughout the pandemic because a lot of people are staying home. Even though I have work, I love playing my games. Classics, games I never played before. Just like playing my games. And again, the PS3 has some great games, especially some PS2 classics like Ratchet & Clank. There's a whole Ratchet & Clank trilogy just on the PS3. Sure, there is Ratchet & Clank for the PS4, which I have. It is a PS2 remake, but it isn't the same as the PS2. And we have the newest Ratchet & Clank game, Rift Apart, for the PS5. I enjoyed that game, but again, I want to play some great PS3 Ratchet & Clank. The main Ratchet & Clank game on the PS3 that I wanted to play was Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction, and man, that game is great. That was the first Ratchet & Clank game to come out for the PS3, showing off its next-gen graphics, mechanics, and capabilities. You can see that little slowdown right there, that little lag. Other than that, guys, definitely in my opinion, it's a must-have to pick up a PS3 in 2023. So that's it from me, guys. Let's end this video here because it's pretty much it's already a long video. So we'll end the video here. So let's move on to the last segment. Again, this is one of Sony's bestest consoles, if not, even though it came out with some technical difficulties at the launch of it. Other than that, guys, the PS3 is one of the greatest consoles of all time. With its great games, great graphics capabilities, great multimedia device, and its controller being kind of innovative at the time, I think the PS3 is really worth to pick up today, as you can mod it and get free games available for it. So go for it. Alrighty guys, so that's it for today's video. Thank you once again for watching this week's video. If you are new to the channel again, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, as it means a lot to me and the channel. And if you like the video, always hit the like button, drop a comment, tell me what you think about this week's video. And once again guys, thanks again for watching this week's video, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye for now guys.